Welcome to the Body Smart Podcast, where we remove roadblocks to fitness and health to empower you to master your health habits. We help you become body smart.
So, welcome in. I am in, what? Oh, fabulous Las Vegas. What does the sign say? I can't remember. Welcome to fabulous Las Vegas or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm in Las Vegas for a soccer tournament with my boys and my wife, and just the two younger boys. Actually, we left the two older boys at home to shovel the snow that's happening at home.
Nice.
Yeah, we're excited to come on this morning, bright and early, because it's an hour earlier. But wanted to talk today about vacation and exercising. So where this came from is I was on vacation, so decided to go with this topic instead. Being on vacation with my wife and kids, and Shannon and I were talking about vacation and exercise. About so when you're on vacation and you know what to do about exercise. And Shannon and I got talking about how a lot of people don't, because they feel like it's a chore or like something they have to do or whatever. And so they don't want to think about exercising because they're on vacation. They're on a trip. And so they feel like that would take them out of vacation mode. We thought how kind of unfortunate that is, that we see exercise as a chore instead of as something we get to do. Like, I'm always excited to go hit the gym or to do a workout in some way, because it's like, oh, I have the time to do a longer lift, or whatever. I get to exercise, and it's because it's become enough a part of my life and my habit and what I enjoy doing, that I love it, that it's something fun for me instead of a chore. And so we were talking about that, how if exercise is a chore for you, you may be doing it wrong. um, any thoughts, Mark, about that? About that making that mental shift between exercise being a chore or something you do because of what you ate last night, or because you're trying to lose weight or get healthier or whatever, and so it becoming a chore, and how to transition into making that something you enjoy.
Well, I think it goes back to what we've talked about sometimes in the past, is that sometimes exercise gets conditioned to be a punishment. You've told the story before
Yeah,
of when you were in high school and running was the punishment, right? Oh, you were late. Oh, you didn't do
right.
this. You're going to run. And
Yeah,
so,
for sports and team
yeah.
sports and everything. Yeah,
And so I think the first step is recognizing that. Like, are there elements of exercise that I see as a punishment, or um, like the example that you gave, like, oh, I exercise so that I can eat whatever I want, right? So it becomes this, I guess, enabling
yeah,
thing. And not that like anything that gets us to exercise to a degree is good. I guess maybe some forms of punishment, not great, but like if we can get ourselves to exercise regularly, that's great. I think there's just kind of a hierarchy of what are maybe the best reason, or not even the best reasons, but like what are the things that are going to help me to sustain exercise for the longest period of time in my life, because that's really what it comes down to in exercise, is what can I sustain for the longest. And so
yeah. Well, and we've talked a lot about how your why matters.
yeah.
The why that you're doing it really matters.
Oh,
Anyway,
for
sorry.
sure, for sure, yeah. And it goes back to like what are the goals, and being able to take that 30,000 foot view. And um I know for myself in the past, um, when I'd go on vacation, and I'm used to having all the equipment that I want. And so going on vacation, and I didn't have all the stuff, and I was like, oh, I can't get my regular workout in, right? I can't do the same thing that I was doing. And I got too tied to the mode of exercise, versus the
Yeah, being
principle
on program.
being on program, right? Or having the
Yeah.
exact, yeah, the exact things that I wanted. And so one of the things around that was just like I often bring some type of equipment with me, right? Whether it's like um, usually like some form of bands I'll bring with me.
Yeah.
Just, but then also just like doing something is going to be better. And so, um,
Well, even a body weight workout. So at this gym, they don't really have weights. So they have a bunch of, it's kind of interesting how it's set up. So they have across like the road from, it's still at the resort, but across the road from it, the strength training side of the gym is on one side of the road and the cardio gym is on the other side of the road. And
interesting.
so, um, yeah, it's kind of goofy at this resort. And so I didn't want to cross over from the cardio over to the strength. And I was like, but I know enough things, body weight alone, that I can do. And they had medicine balls over there at the cardio and a little area to do, like, they had some yoga mats. And so I was like, sweet, I can do enough body weight stuff and these exercise balls that like, I can knock out so many exercises. And actually, my hamstrings are a little sore because I did enough hamstring testing stuff that I'm like, okay, perfect. I got a great workout in, even though I didn't have like the perfect setup or whatnot. You can always make it work.
So yeah, going back to is just one of the things is just being okay with like whatever equipment was there, and that I just still got something in.
Yeah.
And two, I'll often recruit my family members to go exercise with me, right? But hey, do you guys want to go on a run together? Do you want to do this? Or like I have a nephew that really likes lifting. When I go over there, I'm like, hey, why don't we go work out together? And so instead of just being something that I try to get out of the way so I can go spend time with people, I just spend time with people doing the thing, and that just makes it
Right.
much more enjoyable. And it's encouraging for all of us, right? It's motivating for all of us because we're still getting to fulfill the purpose of our vacation, which is to spend time with one another, doing
Right.
things that we enjoy.
So that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask everybody. What are some of the barriers? What are some of the reasons that you don't work out that on vacation? What are some of the things um, that keep you from wanting to or keep you from doing exercise? We hear a lot of different things. One of the biggest ones though is people are like, I'm on vacation, like I don't want to exercise. And to me, if that's the reason, you need to rethink how and why you're exercising. If you don't enjoy exercise, if you're not enjoying your workouts, you're either doing it too hard or you have the wrong why of why you're doing it. Like your workouts should be enjoyable. It should be something you look forward to doing, that gives you energy, that makes you feel stronger and really helps you fulfill your sense of purpose. And so maybe rethinking how and why you exercise is a good idea. So Lori says not knowing where the safe places to run are. For sure. For sure. I totally understand that. We've been in some neighborhoods before where it's like, yeah, this is probably not the safest place to run. Like this street looks fine, but two streets down, it looked like I shouldn't run there. So yeah, that's important. And so that's where we're mixing it up and saying, okay, oh, I guess I'm going to do a strength workout today, or do, like a plyometric workout with more jumping and cardio and jump roping, or just pogo hops or things like that, where you just mix up what you're doing. Michael says, mindset shift, didn't want to work or don't want to work out on vacation, just like you said. Yeah. Um, yeah, a lot of people do feel like that. I'm on vacation. I get a break from all of that versus, but I think a lot of the reason why that is because our mindset is it's a chore instead of it's something I get to do so that I feel better. I can move more. I can, enjoy my life more. Stayed up way too late on too many consecutive nights. Yeah, that can definitely be one where you're just so tired from staying up late, and Mark just parties way too hard.
You
Um,
know me, a real
yeah,
rebel
yeah.
here.
Rand says exercise often is part of my vacation. Yes, that's the way it should be. So lots of hiking, holding back. My dad is a big runner, and it would
Mm.
annoy my mom if we would go on a run. because she would say, "We're on vacation." Yeah, yeah. So isn't that interesting? And I've heard that in other families that it's like you're taking away from the vacation, and it's like, no, this is why I'm on vacation. So Shannon and I actually had a conversation about that, about um, our different activities. So during the week and stuff, she gets to go um, like play tennis or pickleball or things like that a lot more than I do, because she can kind of go during the days. And so on vacation, I was kind of expressing how I felt bad about going fly fishing when we're up at the cabin. It's like, oh, it just takes time away from the family and takes time away from everything else. And she was just like in support of it. She's like, I understand it. Like, when else can you go fly fishing? You know, that's this is one of the only times it's something that you enjoy, some a way that you can kind of disconnect and whatever. And she's like, so I get it. I get that this is one of the only times that you can do it. And so A, that was really supportive of her, and B, like, yeah, it's kind of true. It's your vacation too. And so you got to take that into account, that like, this is my way of vacationing and really being able to relax. If I don't exercise, I don't feel relaxed, because I'm searching the whole rest of the day for a way to get something in. And not even, it's just about moving. So like Rayanne said, her exercise is part of the vacation. Yeah, if I'm up in the mountains hiking or backpacking or something like that, I don't feel like I need to go on a run that morning, right? So it depends on the nature of the vacation too. Um, we are active on vacation. May not be a specific workout. Just spent 2 days at Disneyland walking 8 miles a day. So Leslie, that's a great point. Um, and actually, an area where we see a lot of people get injured is at Disneyland. Like, if you're going to be on your feet all day at Disneyland, probably not a great way to start your day would be to go on a run, right? You're already spending more time on your feet than you normally would, so it really increases people's injury risk. Of so many runners would come back from a Disney vacation with plantar fasciitis, um, and then wonder why. And it's like, well, you went and ran your normal miles. You went and ran 4 miles or 5 miles that day, and then you took another 30,000 steps uh, at Disneyland. Like, you wound up with way more steps than you normally average. You doubled or tripled your normal average steps in the day. So that's why you got plantar fasciitis. It was just more load than your current capacity. It was too big of a jump. So
Yeah.
those are awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing. And the active vacation, Leslie, that's the way to go. Is just design your vacations around being active and doing active things. Um, I still like, on something like that though, then I like to see if I can sneak in some kind of strength workout, even if it's just body weight, depending on the setup, before I go. I like it because it helps loosen things up after a day of being on my feet. Doing some deadlifts and squats and things like that actually help my hips and knees and feet feel less tight and irritated and stuff like that. So I don't.
I've even so I oh my gosh, I couldn't even talk this morning. So even in places like I've been like we're backpacking or camping or something like that, like I've used tree branches. Luckily, always safely. None ever broke on me. Pull ups, move some heavy rocks or something like that. Um, I think one of the other things is just if we've all prior to going on exercise, if going on vacation, if we've already established exercise is something that is enjoyable to do and that we look
Right.
forward to, it's much easier. Um, and it can really end up making the vacation more fun. So I remember this trip that I took with my college roommates a few years back, and as part of it, we uh, hit the Grand Canyon. So just wasn't a super long hike. Took us a couple hours round trip, and on the way down, everyone was good. Um, but on the way up, my friend, he just hadn't been exercising regularly of any type, right? And had a very um, just sedentary job, sedentary lifestyle. And so on the way up, we had to stop like so many times because he'd just cramp up or be in so much pain. So he'd sit down, and I'd like, I was in PT school at the time, so we do something right, like I'd massage his leg a little bit, try whatever I could to just get him moving again, do some mobilizations to just help him feel a little bit better, and we'd go a little bit and then stop again and repeat this and so on. And like I said, this wasn't a long hike. I think it was maybe um, 3 miles round trip for this hike, and there's quite a bit of elevation with it. But just stop, take a little break, you know, help him try to get him feeling better, go again. And we joke about it now. It's like, man, I don't know if I would have made it back up, or you guys would have had to just leave me there. I would have died in the middle of the Grand Canyon. But it hadn't been something he was doing, and so it actually made the whole or at least that part of the vacation not only not enjoyable for him, but very frustrating and very uncomfortable and painful. And so had it
Was he
just been
sore the
some,
next day too?
oh yeah, oh yeah, it was rough. It was rough. Waking up the next morning, it was like he'd been on a horse all day, right, just hobbling around. And so, just staying active, staying moving, having exercise as a part of our lifestyle before we even go on vacation,
Yeah.
just can make those. It sets us up to be able to have more active vacations. And so,
Yeah.
a lot of it is what is the preparation that we do before, like what are the habits that we've adopted before we even step foot on vacation that reinforce that habit and that actually change the nature of what our vacations look like, right? Are they centered around active things where we're moving a lot, or are they centered around things where we're just like, and not that that's bad, right? Like I've had plenty of vacations where it's just like a lot of time at the beach, which is great. But even Cameron, like talk about what you do at the beach, Cameron. Like everyone else is
Oh,
sitting on the chairs, they're like reading a
yeah.
book.
Oh, yeah. Beach vacations, we do not just sit on the beach. We pass out every night when we're on a beach vacation. Like we don't fall asleep, we pass out because we just go so hard because we just do one activity to the next, to the next, to the next. We bring a whole car full of different activities, and we're just like volleyball, can jam, cube. So some of them not super active, but then we're bodyboarding and um, we're playing soccer, baseball, basketball, football, like everything. We There's this one specific spot in Newport Beach that we really like to stay because there's a park right there, and so you can play soccer, basketball, tennis, pickleball, um, and then you can go over to the beach and you can do volleyball and everything. And so we'll often do all of those every day for like 4 or 5 days in a row, and it's amazing, and we just pass out. So Leslie says doing some of your movement stretching, so those mobility work things that we talked about the other day or the other week, you showed us a few weeks ago, help my hips and back. I didn't care how stupid I looked. I love it. So doing some mobility work is a great idea if you're vacation is already active, doing some mobility work, but it's just taking that time to say, this is my workout time, whether it's just mobility work, or some strength training if you're doing a lot of walking, or some walking if you're doing something more physical, or, whatever that is on your vacation. It's just setting aside some time and making that part of your habit to like, this is my me time, my workout time, because workout time for me is not so much about, again, that punishment for bad eating or whatever, or because I want to stay thin or something like that. um oh, she did it waiting in line, nice. But it's,
Love it.
yeah, I love that. It's just taking the time out for me to be like, okay, this is where I'm going to work on being able to be the me that I want to be, right? This is my time for making sure that I can show up the way I want to show up. So one of the things that, that's a common denominator in some of your comments and what we've seen is that one of the biggest barriers for people being able to work out is the family dynamic. Um, that who they're hanging out with and the types of vacations and types of activities they do um, are often dictated by those that we go on vacation with. And so that's often hard to change. But changing that environment can be hard and take some time. But trying to get others on board is a really important part of being able to move more and be more active on vacation. So often that's one of the barriers. Um, kind of like Lori mentioned, that others feel bad when you go and take time to go exercise. And so it's reframing that and helping them understand why you do it and why you love it and what it does for you and things like that. But that is one of the biggest kind of factors of an active lifestyle, is if the people you hang out with, the people you are around are active, you're much more likely to be active. And if they're not, it's a lot harder to be. And so, Mark, explain more about that point and how, Mark and I were talking about that earlier, how that's not a call to not hang out with your family.
Right. Well, so we've talked a lot in the last couple of weeks about environment, right? What is the environment around me encouraging me to do, or limiting me from doing? Um, because of motivation, again, it's an exhaustible resource, and
Yeah.
so we end up falling back on our habits and on what our environment supports and encourages. And so, again, this is not about any overhaul of lifestyle, but it's like, what are the small and simple things that I can do in different areas of my lifestyle? So I actually, I don't know if I posted that in Geneva yet. It's an environment audit, right? So it has you look through the different patterns and say, what are habits that are supporting me here, and what are habits that are maybe taking away, right? Or there are habits and behaviors. And so
No.
recognizing that, because that has such a powerful effect. I've talked before about how for decades my parents were regular exercisers, right? My dad and mom both ran, you know, 6 to 7 miles a day. My mom taught a lot of like the step aerobic classes and water aerobics, and they were very active. And growing up, we did not have like any type of sweets in the home. Um, I mean, we'd still make cookies and stuff like that, but we just didn't have a lot of, stuff from the store on hand. And I remember specifically cereals, right? We'd always want the Lucky Charms or the Cookie Crisp, and it had to have, I think, 11 or 10 or fewer sugars or something like that in the cereal, right? And so slowly, my dad would bring home sodas or cookies or chips, and just more of that stuff started coming into our home. And so, like, slowly but surely over the years, right, like, our eating habits began to change. um,
Hmm.
and so again, this wasn't a big overhaul. My dad's like, all right, we're just eating crap now, right? Like, it was just bringing some more things into our environment, and then that became the status quo. And it wasn't an overnight thing, right? This happened over the course of several years. And so again, like, on both ends, it's just, what are the little choices that we're making, and how do those compound over time, both to move us towards our goals or to move us away from our goals. And so just being able to have those conversations with the people that we love, and talking with them about how we want to set up our environment, and choosing ourselves how do we want to set up our environment, so that when stress hits, or when we're not feeling well, or whatever happens, that our environment's set up to still support the things that we want to do. And so again, like, let's not say with our vacations, like, all right, now you got to be on your feet all the time, but with family members, with loved ones, saying like, hey, like, let's can we find a way to do both of these things? Like, hey, we'll do this type of activity, right? We're gonna go here and just we'll have a spa day, but then, like, let's also go and do this fun, excursion where we're gonna go, jet skiing or hiking or something like that, and finding a mix of activities so that everyone can still enjoy time with one another, but that you can just still find ways to be active, to continue to move, and
Yeah.
just involving people in what you're doing. Like I said, one of the things that I'll do is just recruit people to come exercise with me. Like, hey, let's
Yeah.
go do this, and we all typically, like, usually we're talking about like, oh man, that was really fun, or oh man, this while we were on run, these dogs came out and we got to play with them for a few minutes while, right? And so it just gets
Or
to
they
be,
chased us and we got a
or
really
they
fast
chased us and
running.
we were so fast, fastest I've ever run in my life. And so like it ends up being a bonding experience for us.
Yeah.
And so just what are ways that I can have those conversations? What are ways that I can set up in my environment? What are little tweaks that I can make to just make the healthier choice, or just the choice that's in line with my goals, the easier choice? Because what's easy to do is what we repeat.
Well, and not even what's in line with our goals or healthier or whatever, that it's just part of who we are and what we do.
Yeah.
Um,
Whoa, whoa,
that
whoa,
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just part of you, that you make it enough of a habit that exercise and movement and wanting to move your body is just part of who you are, and you naturally invite people to participate in the things that you love and let go. We mentioned this somewhat earlier, Mark, when you were saying, you felt like you had to be on program. Let go of what you think your program is, and just do whatever is available. That's a big key too, so that you're able to just adapt that to whoever's with you as well, right?
Yeah.
So
So this reminded me of I was reading or I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the guy was talking about some research that they did in people that were successful um, with losing weight and keeping it off in the long term. Because that's kind of one of the
yeah,
notorious things about weight loss is like people lose a bunch of weight, but they struggle to keep it off. And the person said, uh, if any of you remember the movie Remember the Titans, the one I don't remember what his name was in there, but he was like the real big guy. So Ethan Suplee is his name, but he was
I love that
close
you know
to.
that.
I know, of course, I know that. At one point, I think he was close to 500 pounds,
Yeah,
and
he was the big
now,
guy in a lot of TV shows and movies.
and if
Yeah,
you guys
in
haven't
that
seen it
era.
recently, like he's ripped now, right? Like he
Hmm.
dropped a bunch of the weight, and he's kept it off for years. And what he said, I had to have a new identity, right? Like this was a huge identity shift, and so some of the things that we can tell ourselves, and this goes back to our topic about what am I, right? I am this way, and based on who we've been in the past or the habits that we've had, right? Like, oh, I'm not really one who exercises, or my family doesn't do this, or yeah, I just like this just doesn't work for me, and again, if we hold on to that old mindset, if we hold on to that old identity, if we hold on to that old mentality, and we don't change our relationship with whatever the thing that we're struggling with is, with exercise, with food, then it's going to be much more difficult to be sustainable. But if we adopt that new identity, right? Like I'm someone who loves to exercise, or I'm at least aspiring to be someone who loves to exercise, and we begin trying on that new identity, then that can really help us in sustaining the thing long term. Because when we look at um, there's sometimes it's like, oh, I fell off a roof and I broke my leg, right? Like that'd be hard to prevent or to change that happening. Maybe make sure that the railings reinforced, whatever it is. But a lot of the time, the things that like are a net negative for our health, when you kind of take a step back and do that 30,000 foot view, like what's driving this? Most of the time, it's some lifestyle behavior, right? What am I struggling with here? And so, as we begin to change identity and we begin to adopt new lifestyle behaviors, then that has really far-reaching effects, and it changes our risk for all sorts of things, right? Our risk for cardiovascular disease, our risk for dementia, our risk for diabetes, all these different things. If we make shifts at the level of lifestyle, often it's
Right.
effective in managing those risks that tend to show up later in life.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's about making it a lifestyle. And so it's shifting not only the why of why you're exercising while you're on vacation or any other time, but it's making it so that it supports you and your lifestyle, that it's fun and enjoyable, that you really do love it. That's how you can make it part of your lifestyle. So I think and this is a rabbit hole we could go down. We're kind of out of time now, but this is a rabbit hole we could go down for a really long time. Um, it of we like to figure out what the most effective or best way to work out is, or things like that. And I always tell people, when people ask, what's the best way to work out? I always say, well, whatever you will sustainably do, whatever you will do and keep doing, that's the best way to work out. So it's so much less important about the tactics than it is the lifestyle. Like Mark was saying, it's more about moving and loving to move. And, if there's a specific activity that you love, centering your movement around that activity to support that activity is going to help you be more consistent, more, actually do it and make it part of your lifestyle. And so long term, that's going to be more important and work better for you than getting the tactics right of having to lift a specific way or run a specific way or get this many miles or steps or blah, 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 blah. It's more about supporting your lifestyle so that you can enjoy it. And then exercising on vacation isn't a chore. It isn't something that I have to get it in. It's more of, yes, I hope I can get a workout in today. I hope I can, it becomes more of a positive thing, or I'm going to get a workout in today because I'm going to make that part of the vacation, make it part of the relaxation and the fun and whatever, or the family activities. I'm going to find a way to move, and exercise maybe. But I feel like the exercise is becoming a loaded word. It's just, I'm going to find ways to move my body. And if moving my body means I get a lift in or go on a run, great. But I'm just going to do whatever helps me feel like I'm recharging the batteries and uses my body physically and keeps those habits up so that I can sustain that. So that's part of my lifestyle. So anyway, yeah, that, like I said, that's a rabbit hole we could go down. That's a whole nother topic for another day. But hopefully this helped kind of reframe and rethink like what vacation exercise can and should look like, and why it's important to do, that you're not on vacation from your health when you're on vacation. And so, just to keep moving and keep doing it in a way that's sustainable and that you enjoy, instead of a way that's a punishment for what you ate at the buffet last night.
Thanks for listening to the Body Smart podcast. Join us in the Body Smart community on Facebook to share your successes or ask a question for our next episode. Now get out there and take the next step toward living your active lifestyle.